Hey everybody, this is Jack, the Game Fools, and I'm here with a new series that I'm trying to start up called League of Legends How to Play. Basically, the point of the series is to show off different ways to play different champions. Today, for example, I'm going to do different ways to play Jayce. It's basically going to be a how to break the meta type series, like a set of guides for how to break the meta. Hopefully they'll get better over time because I doubt that it's going to be a great start off because it's my first time doing this, but I hope it'll be useful and enjoyable. So after you've watched the video, please comment below on whether or not you thought it was good. Anyways, let's get started. So today I'm gonna take a look at Jayce. He can obviously be played as a top laner uh, because that's the meta, so it should be obvious. But can he be played jungle? Not really. Reason being, he does have the AoE damage and just straight out damage output to be a jungler. He's not lacking that. He also has a little bit of mobility with his between his alt and his cannon stance E, his gate. But that doesn't. The problem is he's not mobile enough, really, in my opinion. You need, if you're going to even try to play Jayce in the jungle, you really need to buy Mobies, which means you can't buy something like Berserker's Greaves to increase your damage output, or Ionian for more spells, or Swiftness for the anti-CC. Swiftness isn't bad because that's also pretty fast boot, but you really kind of need Mobies just because they make you so much faster. Whereas that's not the only problem though. He's also got the thing where he has absolutely no sustain whatsoever. He has no shield, no built-in lifesteal or heals. He just doesn't have any sustain. He can't be. I mean, yes, you can build him tanky, and it's not that difficult to build him tanky, but he just doesn't have that sustain that comes from a shield or a heal or lifesteal. And I mean, yes, you can build some lifesteal onto him, and you need to in a lot of cases, but it doesn't make up for the fact that most good junglers have some way of healing themselves up. Hecarim has got his E, Gangplank's got his E, uh, Volibear's got his passive, etc. Nautilus has his shield. And Jayce just doesn't have that, so I don't really think he can be played as a jungler for those reasons. Now onto the mid lane. I guess you can play Jayce in a very similar way to ADC in the mid lane as an AD mid laner, but I wouldn't recommend doing this, mainly because I find that whenever I'm building Jayce as a high damage output as opposed to a bruiser, he really kind of needs some help early game. When you're playing him AD carry, you have your support for that, whereas when you're a mid laner, you'd kind of need your jungler to babysit you early game, and you can't really do that because that's taking your jungler away from other lanes and getting objectives and stuff like that. So I don't personally think that Jayce is the best mid laner. And you can try it if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it because, like I said, he's really dependent on items. I mean, he only needs like one or two to be relatively good on his own, but to get those, it's not easy for him if he doesn't have help. And yes, you can have the jungler help you, but don't make your jungler babysit you. That's the problem that I find with him in the mid lane. However, in bottom lane, he's just amazing in my opinion. He needs a support, but you're an AD carry, so you'll have that. But he's pretty easy to build a little bit tanky if you need to. But he also has a ton of damage throughout the game, just provided you build him right. And his AD scaling is great. Like all of his abilities have decent, at least AD scaling, not counting his cannon stance W. That's just a stupid, but no, it's not a stupid ability, but it doesn't have AD scaling. But everything else pretty much does. Uh, Also, he's got that cannon stance W, which allows him to just quickly burst down an opponent. Just if you're building him crit or just flat damage, then it's a ton of damage. It's 3 rapid shots, so that'll take down your enemy's health pretty quickly. Then he's got his gate cannon, which is some great poke. really long range, and ton of damage output, uh, even close range. And when you use that, it also gives you an opportunity to go in really hard with your switching into hammer stance. There we go. Switching into hammer stance, because that has just great engage of power between the Q, and then if you manage to get your E off uh, in a suitable way to knock your enemies back away from their towers, as opposed to them, because that can just be bad. It's just, he has really good engage, damage output, scaling, etc., uh, which is why I think he works really good as an AD carry. For building him this way, I'd say start off with a tier, maybe. Well, working your way up to a tier soon. Maybe not first. Get like a Doran's Blade and a pot, as well as either a Warding Trinket or a Sweeping Lens. But the first full item that you want to build towards is a Monimune. Monimune? I don't know how to say that stupid name. Uh, Anyways, you want to get that because he is pretty mana hungry, I'll admit, which means you might also want to get a Essence Reverse at some point throughout the game, just because that's a really good item now for keeping up your mana, especially when you have his W. Uh, that plus Monimune just really takes care of his mana thirstiness. Uh, then, after that, I get probably Berserker's Greaves for boots, just for some extra attack speed, and really anything with AD or attack speed, well, preferably both, after that. Infinity Edge works well, it's a lot of damage, good crit chance, increases how much damage your crits do, a good item for pretty much any ADC, so yeah. Last Whisper can be good if you want to go for more flat damage, as opposed to a more crit heavy build. You're probably going to need to build some lifesteal item. Bloodthirster can work well, or if you're getting a Essence Reaver, you don't really need to get anything else, just because he has pretty decent attack speed, plus with his W, you can heal up really quickly with that. If I don't know, for last item, you probably want to get something like a Static Shiv if you want to go for a crit build, and also it gives you move speed, attack speed, and the damage from its passive. But you can get whatever you think is necessary at that point. These builds are all pretty flexible in how you build them and how you edit them. Just change it however you need to situationally, but these are just the items that I suggest getting that I find have worked for me when I played it. ADC-Jayce. But remember that when you're playing ADC-Jayce, you really need a support has some decent CC, because Jayce doesn't have a lot other than his cannon's hammer stance E, and that's not terribly reliable in lane. So make sure you have someone who has a decent amount of CC and preferably can take some damage, because if you really want to go for optimal damage on Jayce, he's really not that tanky. So you probably want someone like, I don't know, Leona, Braum, Taric, or maybe Blitzcrank, who can really take some damage and hold your lane opponent down close to you, so you can just get tons of damage off quick. That's pretty much all I have to say for ADC-Jayce. Then there's Support Jayce, also actually not bad pick in my opinion. He's pretty easy to build tanky, as I said before, which is always good, so he can take damage for his carry. He has decent damage in general, and that cannon stance EQ, just his gate cannon just gives him a ridiculous poke. That's always nice on a support. Plus, he has awesome engage, as I said earlier, with his hammer stance in general. Plus, his gate provides an escape for pretty much any carry, especially when you're partnering with someone like Ashe, who really doesn't have any kind of escape of her own. So that's always a nice little addition to have. Also, it can help him get back to lane faster, along with his ultimate, just because it's always better to get back quicker if you don't have teleport up, or depending on what you got. But also, he's just generally a pretty good support, especially if you manage to get good at doing his hammer stance, QE combo and knocking your lane opponents towards your carry. Be careful not to knock them away, because we don't want to be like Lee Sin and knock them away every single time we try to help. But I digress. Uh, I'd say for building him, probably get, I'd say, a Sight Stone pretty early, because you just need that for warding, like any carry. Also, I'd get a Tear early because he will still be mana hungry. Doesn't change depending on what position you play. He's still pretty mana hungry, so I'd go for a Tear into a Manamune and get some basic boots pretty early on as well. First, I'd upgrade the Sight Stone to a Ruby Sight Stone, then maybe upgrade your Tear to the Monimune, and after that, get the Face of the Mountain. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, you're going to want to get a Relic Shield, a ward or two, and some pots for your first build, for your first buy, because those are all really helpful, especially the Relic Shield. Just, you really need a gold gold income item as Jayce, just to get your items faster. He is a little bit dependent on items, I've found, and that does really help. Also, it provides a little bit of a heal, so you can kind of use that to forgo getting a health pot first on your first buy. Optional. And when I say first buy, I mean before you go into lane, even, like, not your first back, your first buy of the game. Excuse me. After that, you probably want to get some Ionian boots if you need more CDR. Or if the enemy team is pretty, like, CC heavy, like they tons of slows, like you got, like, I don't know, an Ashe Leona bot lane. That's never fun. Then you might want some boots of swiftness to counteract that. After that, you can build pretty much anything that gives you damage or health, depending on what your team is needing. If you want some more CC, you can probably go for Frozen Mallet or Randuin's. If not, maybe a Trinity or Aegis. Just the Aegis helps because it gives your team a shield. Trinity is just a good all-around item. Randuin's, if you can Q onto your target, that's another way to CC them for your carry. And Frozen Mallet's also CC, but it gives you some health and damage too, which is really nice. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Sorry this wasn't a very professional recording. Just, I haven't done a video in a while, didn't really have a lot of chance to prepare to do this one. Been really busy the past little while. But anyways, just with any of these builds, just take what makes sense for that role in terms of runes and masteries. It should be moderately obvious based on what role you're playing as to what to get. Also, you can just figure it out through experience. And obviously, these aren't going to be perfect builds. You can modify them pretty easily, though. Just as you try them out in normals, do not try these out in ranked. For, like, on your first time, that will not go well, I assure you. But just, you can modify them as you need once you've experienced how to play them a little bit better. That's really all I've got to say on this. So I hope you enjoyed. Please comment if you liked this, and if you want me to do another one of these videos, just comment what champ you'd want me to do it for. And thanks for watching, and happy gaming.